Hey everyone, my name is Mike Marshall here on the Benzinga Pro team. I'm here with Brent Slava.
What up?
Brent is the head of our news desk, which you can kind of see a little bit of our skeleton crew here. Most of the team is out in San Francisco today. We're hosting a financial technology event. So a little bit of a lighter crew here today, Brent.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop the education. We're all over it today.
Excellent. And so we're trying something new today. We're going to have our slides going here on the left-hand side, and then we're going to try and just apply the examples to the Benzinga Pro platform to show you guys kind of how you can use the news and how you can apply that into a system or a platform of your own. Brent, before we get started,
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Well, it's a couple things. So if you guys and gals know Benzinga.com, that's kind of more like our front-facing website where it's more like traditional articles. I think Mike's going to pull it up here right now. You just kind of give a quick glance at it. Benzinga Pro, which Mike just had up there, and you can see there's articles. There's kind of like some more color. You can click in here. You can get some more, perspective on stuff. A little ad up there for the webinar you guys are tuned into right now. Benzinga Pro is our real-time news solution. People use it in real time to trade. To get news, to get information so that they can trade. You can't actually trade on the platform. Also use it to do research. It's a pretty high-power tool. So we're going to go through some ideas on some things you should be watching out for as you're thinking about ways to trade the news. We're going to give you some examples. Like Mike said, he's going to pull them up over here on the right-hand pane. Wanted to give a little bit of insight into why you guys should be listening to some of our education. So I'll be doing, sort of the most of the kind of education. Mike's going to be popping in with some good questions throughout. Why you should be listening to me? Well, I've been doing this news thing since about 2005. I've been tracking, news items and how they're moving stocks since about then. I've been doing it professionally for about 10 years as a reporter of sorts. If you give me a ticker, I should be able to tell you what's moving the stock within a matter of like 10 minutes or so. So again, I have been watching, news items impact stocks for more than 10 years. It's really kind of like my thing, so I'm pretty excited about this webinar.
Awesome, excellent. So, and so what Brent was saying is kind of my take on the webinar. What I like to do is answer so a lot of the questions will be coming through the chat. I'll kind of work those into the presentation as Brent is going, ask kind of some questions. And here at our Benzinga.com website, a great place for some free information on, the market. We have a daily analyst ratings email that goes out every morning, covers a lot of the upgrades and downgrades in the industry. We have the Market in 5 newsletter, which is basically just an overview of the market, a pretty quick read, but definitely can keep you informed.
Our most popular one, too,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So yeah, if you guys, both free sources, so make sure to check them out.
And if you guys are on the webinar because you want to get some education on trading, on investing, if you guys are just beginning, another great resource we want to clue you into is our pre-market prep morning show. I'm not bringing this up right now because I want to promote it necessarily. This is a really good resource. There is a couple of hosts who host the show. It runs from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time each morning, Monday through Friday. The two hosts, Joel O'Connor and Dennis Dick, they have something like 40 years of trading experience between each other. What we're doing on pre-market prep is going over some of the top news items of the day, and Joel and Dennis are some seasoned technicians. So what they are doing is they're bringing up news items of the day, the most important news items of the day. They're pulling up the charts. They're letting you know where important levels. They're saying, okay, $67 level up here is going to be a little bit of resistance. $60 level down here is going to be a little bit of support, and they're just giving you a quick little tips.
Well, I can't think of my login. I was going to show you guys. There's a great chat room here as well. You guys can use if you signed up for a free trial to Pro, you can use your same email and login right here. And yeah, like Brent said, these guys are very well connected in the market. They look at things in a very technical sense and can really educate pretty much anyone in the market. It's a very great show.
And it is free, like this webinar.
Absolutely. So before we take up too much more time here, I guess we should probably get started. What do you think, Brent?
Let's do it up. Ready.
So how to trade the news. Where would you like to start?
All right. So we're not actually going to be going over like any specific trades. Mike is driving right now. He's the one controlling the mouse. He's not going to be doing any like real-time trading. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going over a couple things that I want people to be thinking about as you're considering trading on news items. Whether it's a breaking news item that you know is upcoming, an expected news item, or something that pops up in the marketplace at the drop of a dime, you know, something unexpected. Again, we're not actually going to be doing any trades, but what we want to do is we want to inform you, we want to educate you so you can, you know, use the information, use the education, tie that in with Benzinga Pro, and when a trade pops up, when a news item, a breaking news item pops up, you're going to be well equipped to sort of field what's going on and, you know, apply it to your own trading strategy. I don't know all your trading strategies out there, so I don't want to give you specific like trading examples, trading, you know, strategies. That's for you guys to understand it and to apply on your own.
Excellent. And then just the last thing, everything in this webinar is just information, not intended for you guys to go and make a trade on, just education, so you guys know. So, expected news items. So, Brent, what were you thinking? Something like upcoming earnings report, or you know, is that where we're going?
Yeah, something that is scheduled, something that we know is upcoming. An earnings report is definitely a good example. Another good stock-specific example comes out of the biotech and pharma sector. That is when the FDA hosts an advisory panel, and that is where, you know, if a company has a big drug candidate that is coming up toward the end of a trial, this panel will give a recommendation to the FDA. They'll say, you know, we've looked at the numbers, we've looked at efficacy, we've looked at safety, we are recommending that the FDA should approve this. That's what an AdCom panel is. It's a date. You know when the AdCom panel is. There's actually a stock halted today. If you don't mind really quick, Mike, pop open a newsfeed. So here's our first sort of demonstration, and I want you to search ticker PTCT, Papa Tango, Charlie Tango. I think this was the one from today. So look what happened here in this one, ladies and gentlemen. You could use Benzinga Pro to see that PTCT shares were halted with the code T1, which stands for news pending. You know, 7:27, I'm looking at the 7:27 a.m. Eastern headline. It's saying the stock was halted because there's an AdCom meeting on Translarna. Later today, you'll start seeing results out of this panel. You'll start seeing headlines that are saying, you know, the panel's looking at efficacy, the panel's looking at safety, they're giving a recommendation or they're not giving a recommendation. The stock is halted right now. You cannot trade it. It's not moving. You can't do anything with it. You'll get this news later in the day, and the stock will probably resume trade, maybe even after hours or late in the day today. So when you have a date like this coming, there's a couple things that you can do, and I want to go over those really quickly. So what you should do if you have, you know, a news item where you know there's an event coming, you should start setting some scenarios for yourselves. So what do I mean by that? Well, you should adapt your model a little bit, and, you know, if you know, like for example, PTC here, we have a panel for Translarna. Consider what the very bullish case could be. Let's say Translarna is, you know, approved with flying colors. After this panel approves it, recommends approval, you know, it's favorable news. What is the high level that you think that stock could move to after this news comes out? That's your bullish scenario. Set a baseline scenario. Set a scenario where, you know, maybe the AdCom panel recommends it for approval, but there was kind of some hitches that they were thinking about. You know, what is going to be sort of like your kind of neutral scenario. Also set a bearish scenario. If, you know, this panel happens, the panel doesn't like the results that the company has demonstrated in trials, and they're not going to recommend approval, how much do you think this stock could fall? Those are the things, that's the kind of research that you need to be doing. And you're saying, you know, Brent, well, this is some serious research I need to be doing to get a bullish, a baseline, and a bearish scenario. Well, that's fine. I want you to get to a point where you can do your own research, where you can use tools like Benzinga Pro, where you can go out and, find more information on the company and try to make your own little model for it. Something that analysts do, you can do this. I'd encourage you to employ this. Something that sell-side analysts do a lot of times is they will set a definitive, like numbered reward risk level. So if you ever look at analyst research notes, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, here's an upcoming news item. For this upcoming news item, we see potential for 30% or $30 of upside, and we see potential for $10 of downside. So what that analyst is trying to prepare you for is that there happens to be a lot more upside likely than downside. If there's good news, the stock could go up $30. If there's bad news, the stock might only go down $10. That is a favorable risk reward analysis. You have, it's likely that you have about a $20 per share spread there, that it's likely to be favorable news. So use those, utilize stuff like that. That's the stuff you should be considering.
Excellent. So we know that, right, as the stock was halted, it was halted at $17.24. So if we were thinking about taking a position in this stock, we should start to think about, hey, what is our price target that we're looking for when the stock reopens? And if it spikes one way or the other, have a good stop loss or number to understand where you want to get in and where you want to get out before it plays out in front of you.
Exactly. That number to understand is hugely important, because when this thing resumes trade and the stock is going crazy, it spikes $30 higher or it spikes $10 lower, there's going to be some emotion inside of you. You're going to see that price action. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? You might have a little panic happen. Getting your research out of the way before, setting some numbers, jotting them down on a piece of paper, jotting them down in a document somewhere online, so that when emotion is happening in real-time trading, in real-time action, the stock's moving right now, you don't even have to consider, you don't even have to remember, you just look down at your piece of paper and you know that when you see $30, you're going to start getting a little anxious and you're going to want to start selling. That's based on your own research. Given some examples here.
Excellent.
So why don't we look at a couple quick examples, Mike? A couple of recent earnings reports. Want to make this as relevant for the listeners as possible. So let's look at a couple news items from just last night, I think. And right now, Mike's kind of clicking around to a couple workspaces. Open a details widget for us, Mike.
All right. So two ways you can get the details. You can either click on the ticker right there
in the news feed,
or you could just click on the details icon right there. Do we want to go to a full screen?
Yeah, sure. Close that widget on the left. We want to look at the full chart here. So why don't you pull up ticker Nike? Just had earnings a couple days ago. And so right now we're looking at the one-day chart. Why don't you go to the 5-day chart, Mike, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so look at what happened here in Nike shares. So the stock had earnings, company had earnings. Let me mouse over here real quick, Mike, if you don't mind. So yeah, what timestamp was this? Let's see. Okay, so this bar is showing about 3 o'clock to 3:30. That's about the 30-minute bar right there. That's the bar right before the close. So look what happened here. And there is our charts right now, unfortunately, don't show pre-market trading. But if we could see pre-market trading, you see that there was a ton of volatility right after this news came out. So what happened here is, you knew that Nike results were going to be coming out. You got ahead of it. You did your research. You said, okay, I'm looking for earnings of this. I'm looking for sales of this. If the company misses or beats, that's probably the direction that the stock's going to go. So something like Nike, you can kind of see that the stock fell below 52 bucks on that earnings report. Maybe before the report came out, you said, okay, $50 is the level I was watching. Well, if the stock didn't hit $50, maybe you're still invested in it. Maybe you're still thinking about, doing a short.
Excellent. And then just to show people that actual,
results.
Yes,
the actual results.
Right here. So we see Nike's reporting on the 26th. It looks like we can see these data points here.
So look, they beat on the bottom line. They beat on their earnings per share figure, 57 cents versus 48 cents. Their sales looks like it was a little light, and that's important, especially for a retailer. Most of the time, earnings, the profit of a company is very important. Retail might be the one case where your sales can be almost as important as your earnings per share figure. And, you know, what happened with Nike, I would say. So, you know, the company has had, look at the trend here in Nike's earnings. So scroll just over a little bit, Mike, please. So look at all those green numbers there, all of those earnings beats. You know, this is going on a few years where they beat a ton on earnings. As those earnings keep beating, expectations keep going higher and higher for Nike. So although the company beat their expectation by about, you know, 9 cents or so, 57 cents versus 48 cents, it just wasn't enough for the street, especially when that sales figure didn't boil out. So what happened is, you know, we've seen the stock, after hours, the stock did spike a little bit higher and then quickly sold off, and, you know, it has remained lower since then. Cool, so I'm good on that one for right now, Mike. Let's go and talk about what happens when an unexpected news item, and real quick, just before we move on, actually, I got a couple other notes here, just to highlight a couple other items which could be considered an expected news item. Again, something that is scheduled. It could be like an FDA decision or a government decision or some kind of political decision. One way that you can get ahead of this stuff is what Mike's on right here, which is the calendar. The one that we're looking at right now is the earnings calendar, and what this is showing us is a list of all the upcoming earnings announcements for, you know, right now we're looking at today, and if you just, yeah, sure, go to Monday real quick, Mike. So look, this is the Monday schedule right now. You can see, you know, we're outside of the earnings season right now, so there's not a ton of really interesting companies. You know, you can see Cal-Maine, it's a food company, maybe you want to trade that. But the idea here is you're getting ahead of news items from happening. I want you to click over to the econ calendar real quick too, Mike. This is where you'll see important data points that are coming up. So once you scroll down to,
let's make this a little bigger real quick.
That will help. Okay, so find the U.S. releases real quick. Sort by country if you don't mind. Cool, so Mike just clicks on that top of the column. He's got the feed here sorted by country. And so check this out. There was a bunch of data points that came out at 8:30 a.m. time. I'm looking at the time column. I can see, you know, we got our weekly initial jobless claims reading. We got a read on wholesale inventories. Probably the most important data point that we got at 8:30 today was the GDP reading. And you can bet when we're getting a very important data point, macroeconomic data point like GDP, the S&P 500 futures, the NASDAQ futures, the Dow Jones, they're all going to move right at 8:30, or maybe they don't move, but if you're using your calendar here to get ahead of stuff like that, at least when the news happens and the stocks don't start moving around, you can at least say, okay, I guess that GDP reading didn't really mean too much to the market. You can kind of discount it and dismiss it, and you don't got to worry about it for the day.
Great. And so, yeah, that was expected news and you know, kind of how to handle it.
How to prepare yourself.
Exactly. And how to deal with unexpected news. We could almost call the Nike some unexpected news that came out on them right around earnings as well.
Are you talking about like the NCAA basketball scandal?
Correct.
Absolutely. You know, it's a huge news item on Main Street, on Wall Street, because there are corporate implications here. Adidas is probably like is probably going to be like a big loser from this. It seems like they have a ton of exposure to this. And if you're looking for the ticker, Mike, it's ADDYY. It's an ADR, so it's got one of those funky 5-letter OTC tickers. So a couple other thoughts that I got when you're considering, you know, I'm sitting here trading, I have my plan for the day, and then all of a sudden, you know, some big news item breaks. Maybe it's on the S&P, maybe it's on the stock market as a whole, maybe it's on one of the stocks that you have in your portfolio. What do? Well, the thing that I do when I see a big news item that I didn't know was coming was I start to research why the stock could be moving right away. This is extremely important that you have easy access to a good research tool like Benzinga Pro. I prefer you to use Benzinga Pro. If you got something else out there that you're using better, go for it. I just want people, you know, to be able to quickly research stuff. So drop my sheet here real quick. Let me pick that up. Let's take a quick example. The importance of being able to do really quick research. So I want you to pull up the newsfeed. You got the newsfeed open. So type in ticker FDX. This is FedEx. We're going to look at FedEx. So this is real life stuff. This really happened. So want you to maybe go one step further here, Mike, and click on the sources button. We're going to filter a few more releases in here. I want you to click on the press releases. Okay, so Mike just added press releases to his news feed here. He's going to be getting probably a lot more news items here because he added that. So hit done on this pop-up window, Mike, and I want you to scroll down to just past where this red headline is coming in. Okay, so what happened here is, while we could have gotten ahead of FedEx's Q1 earnings report, we knew that they were going to be posting their earnings. We didn't know that the company might be issuing guidance with that earnings report. So this is, again, real life stuff. I'm sitting here, I knew that FedEx earnings were going to be coming out. I see the press release hit right here. Will you double click that, Mike, to pop it out? So double click, you get a little nice pop out here. So what's happening here? So scroll down, Mike, really quick, and let's see if we can find the guidance. So look, it says Outlook right here. Okay, so scroll down. I want to find the figures really quickly. Okay, so we have the earnings forecast before. All these adjustments is now $12 to $12.80. That's the extent of what FedEx is telling you here. They're telling you, they're giving you a nice little hint. Will you highlight that word right there, lowering? They're telling you, lowering right there, right above it, just one more up. So thankfully, FedEx is telling you that it is lowering, it is cutting its guidance. However, it doesn't, the company doesn't tell you how much it's lowering its guidance by. Doesn't really help you too much. They could have lowered it by 1 penny, or they could have lowered it by $1. So when I seen that, you know, I'm one of the guys that's typing out the headlines here. When I seen that, what I did right away is I clicked over to my news feed, and I utilized a couple cool searches that I think everyone out there can totally use. So right away, what I did is I typed in the ticker FDX, and I typed in, I knew what period the guidance is going to be for. It's fiscal year 18. So type in FY18, Mike, Foxtrot Yankee 18. We're going to be doing a keyword search here, and look at that, how easy that was. I can see, you know, a couple months ago on June 20th, 2017, the last adjusted earnings per share guidance, whoops, will you click, there you go. So the last fiscal year 18 adjusted earnings per share guidance was $12.45 to $13.25. Now I can take that number and compare it to the new range, and I can see, okay, it looks like FedEx is cutting their guidance about 40 cents or so. That's quite a bit, even for a company that reports, you know, $12, $13 in earnings. 40 cents is a rather big deal. So what I did really quickly, just to reiterate again, is I didn't know how much, I didn't know the magnitude that FedEx wanted to cut its guidance. I was able to use Benzing Pro really quickly here to see the degree of which FedEx cut its guidance. And what did the stock do, Mike? Why don't you just pull up the chart real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was a little bit lost when you were explaining it, but I grabbed it right at the end. So pretty much what you did is you did a historical lookup, and back in June, FedEx also put out some guidance, and their guidance was for the year 2018.
Yep.
They thought the price of the stock was going to be
not the price of the stock, what their earnings were going to be.
Okay, from $12.45
Yep.
to $13.
Yep.
And now what we can do is we can see that press release that just came out.
Yep. Scroll down just a little more, and it is right there. Yep. Click that guy.
And we see that from $12.45 to $13.25, it is
down to $12 to $12.80.
So from where they were just, what, 4 months ago, some things
Yep.
must have dramatically
change, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so something else to consider. So remember, we're talking about unexpected stuff here. This guidance cut seems to have surprised the Wall Street analysts also. An important part about this headline that I haven't mentioned yet that I want to mention is the estimate. Will you highlight that 1334 or 1338 right there? So Wall Street analysts, they were saying for fiscal year 18, all of our models combined and averaged over the number of analysts who are currently covering the stock, we were expecting the company to report fiscal year 18 EPS of about $13.38. That wasn't that far off from the prior guidance that the company gave back in June. The range was $12.45 to $13.25. Yeah, the analysts are a little bit optimistic still, but it's about in line. Now let's consider that $13.38 estimate to that new range of $12 to $12.80. That's far worse. And so again, will you pull up the chart, Mike, and let's see what the stock did on the heels of this report. And I think go to the 5-day chart. And so look, the stock actually reacted favorably despite this cut guidance. So that's kind of where, you know, like I already touched a little bit on managing your emotion. We're going to touch on a little bit more because it is very, very important. This is exactly why you need to have done really good research before something using a tool like Benzinga Pro, and why you need to make sure you can very easily access that research that you did and make a quick call when, you know, you thought, okay, I just noticed that the guidance was reduced. The stock should be moving lower. It's not, well, oh my gosh, what do I do now? If you've done your research, if you've done your homework, you're gonna have a good idea of what you should do now, and that's what you wanna do.
Excellent. Keeping us chugging along. So that's expected news items.
We got a couple more here real quick, Mike. So the other thing you should be thinking about when you see a breaking news item and it doesn't seem like, you know, you were alerted to it previously, is one of the first things you should check is you gotta know if news has already been announced. So I believe that the market is a really smart marketplace. It's a really smart, you know, function. Digest news extremely quickly, but it's not perfect. I want to look at a really cool example here. So type in the ticker SEAS, S-E-A-S. And actually, Mike was clicking over to one of our branded categories. It's called Market Movement Exclusives. I'm not sure if this SeaWorld headline that we got a little while ago was listed as a Market Movement Exclusive. I think it was. Look, it's here, actually. It looks like it was an exclusive. So Market Movement Exclusives, to say on that really quickly, is our highest level information. It's information that we've determined to not be in the marketplace elsewhere, and we also think it's notable enough that it's probably going to move a stock.
And just to throw the camera on again real quick, that is pretty much Brent's team back there. They're the ones that are creating the market moving exclusives. So how do we know that it's not going out there in the market? It's because our reporters and our news team were the ones that broke that story.
So let's go back, let's jump back to see what happened here with SeaWorld. I think you guys are really gonna like this one. So what happened on this day? Let's check this out. So look at this first headline, just a little bit before 12:50 p.m. Eastern time, there was a report out there. It says, SeaWorld shares are down about a quarter over the last minute as traders are circulating a report that SeaWorld is under criminal investigation. You can provide the link there. It looks like it's a Click Orlando article. And, you know, like right away, I don't know the reputability of Click Orlando, but that doesn't matter right away if the stock is already moving. If the stock's already moving, that's where you position yourself and you go, okay, you know, what's the first thing I should be thinking about? Well, is this already out there? That's what we did on the news team on this day. So click back over to the pro feed real quick, Mike. Right? So just a little update from what it was. Under criminal investigation, it looks like related to, you know, something with that Blackfish documentary from a while ago now. What we did right away is we said, like, this kind of sounds familiar. I think I remember this a little while ago. So what we did right away is we reached out to SeaWorld directly. They gave us a comment. They said that this has been previously disclosed, and it was disclosed in June. It was disclosed quite a while ago. So this is, again, to sort of circle it back around, this is where this is an instance where the market was not efficient. The market was not able to digest this report that traders were circulating, quickly determine that this was already out there, and that created an opportunity for traders, for smart traders who, you know, got ahead of this, who maybe were tuned into our exclusives feed and saw this and, you know, made it trade in the opposite direction.
Excellent. Thank you, Brent.
Yes, sir. Let's go over one more real quick on an unexpected news item. Why don't you look at ticker PETS, P-E-T-S. This one is from today. This one is very relevant today. So what happened here is there was a report about 10:35 or so. PetSmart announcing their pharmacy delivers online convenience for prescription OTC medication and veterinary diet formula pet foods. Stock started moving down on that. This was one where we got quite ahead of the price action. Market not being extremely efficient, and what happens is, you know, we noticed this one, we put it out to our users, we said, heads up, this is happening. The stock wasn't really moving at the time. A few minutes later, you know, it looks like about 7 minutes later or so, the stock started moving down. And why don't you hit the chart on this one real quick, Mike? We can see what the stock's doing right now. Looking at the one-day chart real quick. So, you know, if you were able to get ahead, if you were watching the wire, it looks like we might have alerted you right around, actually, I think even a little, keep going back. I think that first big red bar.
Yeah.
I think right about there, you would have been able to get, you know, a couple minutes ahead of this move, and the stock has moved lower, a little bit lower since then.
Excellent.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it got down to $33 at one point, 32. Excellent. We did have a couple questions come in that we overlooked, so sorry about that. I don't recall what we were talking about for the buy or sell. Sorry about that.
You had a question. What you said? What did it mean? Was it buy or sell? Can you give us what section we were talking about? We can get you an answer. And then George is asking what moved shares of SeaWorld today. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Why don't we pull it up? Okay, so it looks like we don't got any news items right now. I'm going to ask to get back to you on this one, George. I'd love if you could send your contact information, send an email to Mike or Andrew, and give me your email. I'll look into C's after we get off the webinar, and I can shoot you an email and get you some thoughts on why the stock might have moved today.
Excellent. And then it looks like one last one.
Okay, so I can't remember what we were talking about on FedEx when you asked the question, Nini.
Try and pull it up here.
The thing is, Nini, I can't tell you to sell or buy. I am not a trader. I'm a news guy. So what we're doing with this webinar is we want to get you information. We want to give you some know-how so that you can make the decision yourself. There's a ton of really cool tools on Benzinga Pro, a lot of good content, a lot of good headlines and stories. We feel that the stuff we're providing here in Benzinga Pro, if you utilize it right, you should be able to make the buy or sell decision on your own. And I'm sorry, I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but that's not what we do at Benzinga. What we do at Benzinga is we give you the news in an extremely fast, extremely easy to digest format. All right, cool. All right, so why don't we click over to, click us over to the next little idea here as we're talking about how to trade the news. You're gonna be able to utilize your watch list quite a lot to trade the news. And Mike, why don't we just get like a little watch list set up here real quick.
Excellent.
And I'll show you some ideas that I have on how a watch list can help you trade the news. All right, so Mike is naming our portfolio here. It's Brent's, what was it? Brent's Magic Picks. Awesome. Okay, so let's just throw in like 4 or 5 tickers here, Mike. Make them easy, like do like Ford, maybe GM, maybe like a Facebook. Let's get a little technology. And how about Google or Twitter? That's fine. Cool.
All right, so we got them all. What I did there is I just typed in the ticker symbol, hit enter after each ticker. So they just sat up there in a pool, and then I just hit enter one more time, and I got them populating right down here. If I wanted to get rid of Twitter, I would just come down here, I would right click, and I would just remove Twitter from my watch list.
Cool. So you're seeing trading happen right here. You're seeing live trades happen. The quotes are delayed by about 15 minutes or so right now. However, these are like real trades that are happening. How you can be using your watch list is, you're seeing the action happen here. Basically what you can do is keep the watch list open throughout the day. If you have a news feed open, if you have, your platform open, have your watch list up in a little tiny window, and you can watch those ticks as they're happening. And what I would recommend is if you see some dramatic price action, that's your signal to go try to find what the news is. That's your signal to pull up a news widget on Benzinga Pro. That's, your signal to start doing your research on your own. The one tip that I could give you, and let's see if I got a couple examples here for you. So, doing this stuff for a while now, I got a pretty good idea when a news item is impacting a stock versus like just a bunch of buyers stepping into the market for, no real good reason, no news item at least attached to it. Pull up a couple charts here, Mike. I want you to pull up ticker FTR, Foxtrot Tango Romeo. Pull it up in a news feed.
Okay.
Because I want to show you what happened in FTR today, and I want to show you how at least I identified that there was some kind of news item, whether it is formally announced by the company or some kind of rumor that's out there, how I identified that there was news. So also, why don't you pull up a details page so we can see the chart, if you don't mind. So what I'm looking for here on Frontier Communications, I'm looking for huge bars higher under like a matter of seconds. So that bar right there that you were just moused over a second ago, that thing moved, it looks like, I don't know, only a few pennies, but it had this huge tail. It had this huge wick that spiked the stock higher, and then it started falling after that. When you see very dramatic, very sharp price action like this, a lot of the times it means that there's some news item out there versus something like, I want you to type in ticker ROKU. This is a hot issue today. This is the IPO for Roku. It just opened today. Let's see if we can get a chart. Okay, cool. So the difference in the charts, and if you don't mind, Mike, scroll down just a little bit on the Frontier, and we can sort of look at the difference in these two important bars. So that's an important bar. Right there, there was a news item. There was a rumor going around on Frontier Communications versus the Roku chart over here. Look at that. That's what I would call a drift higher. There wasn't, necessarily like a very sharp spike higher. The stock kind of like had a bunch of green bars in a row, and hey, what do you know? Before a few minutes, the stock's up like $5. This wasn't driven by news versus Frontier Communications, which was driven by news. So again, one more time, if you see those very sharp spikes higher or dips lower, it might be a good signal for you to go start trying to do your own research.
Excellent. And so this would be just, and this is just my thought, I'm guessing. So as we see, like Roku here just steadily growing for that, looks like half hour or so, that is just more people believing in the company compared to these spikes over here in Frontier where it was news driven, if you will.
And so, yes, and something to consider is that spike in Frontier probably was driven by some algorithmic trading. So this rumor gets out there, it gets passed around a couple chat rooms, it starts making it to a couple news wires, more and more people start getting ahead of the news. However, these algorithms, they react in real time. They react to, a word like a rumor, and they ask questions later and shoot first. And so what traditionally happens with a lot of these rumors, like this Frontier one, is that they will spike higher, and then they'll tend to sell off a lot throughout the day. If this sounds like something that you might be interested in, at least to get a little bit more familiar with, I would recommend going to our rumors category. We have rumors like this, maybe 10 to 20 rumors a day. This isn't news that we're breaking. We're getting word about these rumors. We're looking at the stocks. We're saying, oh, this rumor caught. Somebody is, believing in this rumor, and the stock's moving higher. And we're reporting on them after the fact. And so what Mike's doing right here, this is really cool. Thanks for doing this, Mike. He is adding a theme to that specific category that I just recommended. I said, maybe you like the rumors one. He just turned it on. He clicked into it. He made a little theme. And so what the advantage here is so this is your full news feed. This is the fire hose. This is everything Benzinga reporters are working on. And there haven't been any rumors recently, but Mike, scroll through the news feed. So he's bringing up rumors over here on the other side so you can see where the rumors were. So let's look back at the 1150 when we had this Aleer rumor. So look at how much that stands out over here on the left side of your screen. It would have been very hard. If you had your eyes away from your newswire, it would have been very hard to miss this alert when you saw it cross in a headline with a purple background. That's what those themes are designed for. That's the advantage,
Absolutely.
the power of them.
And then the default in why these are coming through red, or that is, that's going to be default on your platform to make sure you guys aren't missing any of the exclusive, market moving, or hot content that we're producing over here.
That's what the news desk, those red ones by default, that's what the news desk has deemed as probably one of the top news items or opportunities you might be presented with for a day.
Excellent. Now, Brent, we are about at 45 minutes.
Okay.
I know we still have a lot of great folks out there following along with us. Is there anything that you want to jump ahead to or jump around to make sure that our listeners are?
Sure. Why don't you, if you can real quick, Mike, why don't you show off the alerts?
Absolutely.
Same thing that I'm kind of going for, as I just said, when setting a headline theme like you did with the purple rumor. If you don't have your eyes on your newswire, what you can do here is you can set some alerts. You can make a little sound when a rumor crosses. And if you know what that sound is, you set Morse code. When you hear a little dit-dit-dit Morse code sound, you know that a rumor just came through. If you're not watching the newswire, you know where your eyes are going to. They're jumping over to the news feed to see what the rumor was, to see if you might want to take advantage of it.
Excellent. And then the other one, if we went over here to categories and just turned our rumors on, we could set up our desktop notifications if I had it in the right browser. I'm in incognito just so it doesn't have all my settings currently saved, so you guys aren't looking at that mess.
Okay, so let's, I think we can finish up here in just like a few minutes. So why don't we jump over to scroll down in the slideshow real quick, Mike. I want you to go down to the section that is market reactions to the news. And Chris just had a really good question. We're going to get to your question in just a second here, Chris. Okay, so just a couple things I want to go over before we conclude here. So want you to think about, as you're thinking about trading the news, as you're thinking about whether it's an unexpected news item or an expected news item, there's a couple ways you can address a market reaction. So you can decide that you want to move with the herd. What do I mean by that? Well, it basically is if you see a stock move higher on a positive news item and you're not sure that the street has fully digested that positive news item, maybe you want to move with the herd and buy the stock and see if the stock will keep going higher. That's kind of considered, going with the masses, moving with the herd. The other side of that is playing a contrarian angle where if you see a positive news item on a stock, the stock jumps $20, you've done your research, you've done your analysis, you know that $20 is a ton of upside for that news item. Maybe you're going, people are still buying this stock on this news item. I don't really believe in this news item. I'm going to take the opposite angle and I might start shorting the stock here. A couple other things that I want to go over super quickly. Thinking about as you're trading news items, remember that you don't have to, and Mike's typing out a question here, so I'll ask him to scroll down in our slideshow presentation in just a sec. Thank you, Mike. Keep going, actually. Let's go down to alternative investment vehicle. So remember that if you see a news item, it might not be the smartest thing. Let's say you see a news item on Nike. It's not always the smartest idea to just go buy or sell shares of Nike. Maybe you get some exposure to Nike via an options trade, via an option contract. Maybe you get some exposure to Nike by considering an ETF. Maybe, for example, on that Nike earnings report, maybe you're listening to the call, you hear that their Latin America, and I'm just making this up, you hear that their Latin America region did really bad, and there was, some concerning things. There was the earthquake, and there was the seasonally cold summer, whatever it was. Maybe instead of playing Nike, you play the Mexico ETF or you play the Latin America ETF. There are regional ETFs meaning like they'll get you exposure to China or the United States or Latin America. There's also sector ETFs. So if, you know, on that earnings call, there was no comments about Mexico, that was nothing, but there was overall bad comments about retail. Maybe you use an ETF like ticker XRT, the Retail Spider ETF, and you get a little exposure to Nike or to other retailers through that. One more real quick thing, and then I think we're done here, Mike, for the education portion. Consider a pair trade. So what a pair trade is a way to potentially double exposure to a thesis that you have. Let's say that you are listening to that Nike call, they make some really concerning comments about China. You know that there's a player in China that is publicly traded that is just killing it in China. What you can do is you could potentially decide to short Nike while at the same time going long that play that has a ton of good China exposure, and you're effectively doubling your exposure to whatever that thesis was. Kind of cool, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. So I had to go through that stuff really quickly, but it is drawn a little long here. So want to just knock out a couple things. And what else? Do we got something else on the slide?
Looks like we just had one question pop in here. What do the signals offer for unusual option activity?
Okay, Joel just asked, what signals do you offer for unusual options activity? Is it real time? Excellent question, Joel, because while our quotes are delayed, the quotes that you're seeing here in the platform, interacting with the platform, they are delayed about 10 or 15 minutes. However, the headlines that are being produced in Benzinga Pro, they are not delayed. All of those headlines are happening in real time. So the signals, we're watching, we have this thing called Benzinga Signals, and what Benzinga Signals is doing is it's watching the tape all day long. It is noticing important price action, it's noticing important block trades, it's noting if a stock has been halted. One of our favorite Benzinga Signal options features is options alerts. So we have this system that we've designed to watch a ton of option chains throughout the day. We have set some parameters. If one of those parameters is hit, a signal here is going to fire. And this is very, very, very real time. If you see, you know, in QEP, when this option contract crossed, this happened literally a fraction of a second ago, and you would have been alerted to it within, you know, like a second or so. So this stuff is real time, and what Mike did here is he filtered by signals, and he compounded that search by typing in the keyword option, so now he's only seeing options alerts. Joel, you can get alerts on this. Think about how powerful that is.
Yep. Another one I like is spiking.
Okay.
Just to see all the spiking activity, whether it's up or down.
Yep. So why did TRN spike, you know, 1% over the last few minutes? I don't know, but it's sure gonna get your path to researching why it happened started pretty easily.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, really appreciate all of you guys joining us today. You know, we have a few other webinars in the queue, but we'd love to hear about what you guys would like to hear. So if you guys would like, you know, feel free to reach out to us, and we will happily, you know, get you set up with a free trial or anything that you'd like. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them in. Otherwise, we will see you guys next Thursday. Thanks for joining us. And Chris,
yeah, I was gonna say, let's get to Chris real quick. Chris just said, are there tutorials available? Yes, we have recorded this webinar. You can go search, and Mike is pulling it up right now. It is help.pro.benzinga.com. Did I get that URL right, Mike? help.pro.benzinga.com. Send it over to all of the chatters right now. You can see all of the webinars that we've done already. You know, how to research a stock, when to buy and sell a stock.
Here's some guide videos, just some quick 3-minute videos on how to leverage the platform. You know, some recent updates, all of the updates that are happening on the platform, how to leverage them. And then, yes, here's our webinar section, so you can see all of the past webinars here lined up, as well as this is where you can sign up for the next one. So that will be all updated here in the next hour or so if you guys would like to check it out. And you guys should be getting an email here soon with a potential promotion or anything like that. So really appreciate it again. Thank you guys from Detroit. Wishing you guys a happy fall.